Hello again, people. We are back this week in southern Colorado's Huerfano County with a new property located just north of Lathrop State Park. This one's got power, it's got underground utilities, and best of all, it backs up to thousands of acres of BLM land, a region through which flows the Kucharis River. This one is 40 acres, priced at $65,000. Learn all about it and more after the intro. All right, people, so the property we're going to be talking about today is located down here in south central Colorado's Huerfano County. Of course, this county boasts no more than a population of 10,000, but as we like to say, what this region lacks in people, it makes up for in outdoor attractions. Of course, in close proximity to the property, you've got the Great Sand Dunes National Park, Zapata Falls, the Spanish Peak State Wildlife Area, and all this green stuff that you see on the map here, which is, of course, forest area, ideal for hunting. And what can we hunt in Colorado besides anything with four legs? Well, specific to this region, you've got a lot of elk, mule deer, wild turkey, and bear, all of which call this area home. Of course, it should be noted, guys, that the I-25, one of the major interstates within Colorado, cuts through this county, connecting you easily to cities as near as Pueblo, just 45 minutes north, and as far as Denver, roughly 2.5 hours north. And should you elect to drive in the opposite direction, you'll be glad to know that you are none too far from the New Mexico state border, and more specifically, some of the best skiing in America in the Taos Ski Valley. Of course, it bears mentioning that closer than all of that, also here along the I-25, a quick 10-minute drive from the subject property, you've got the town of Walsenburg, aka the county seat of Huerfano County. And it should be noted that even though Walsenburg boasts no more than a population of roughly 3,000, you will have easy access to schools, churches, and medical facilities like the Spanish Peaks Regional Health Center, as well as plenty of stores for groceries and supplies, which, should you elect to purchase and develop today's property, will come in handy. Of course, let's not bury the headline here, people. One of the major selling points of this property, one of the major attractions in very close proximity of this property is the Lathrop State Park, located just outside of Walsenburg and roughly 15 minutes from the parcel we'll be discussing today. This park is home to not one but two lakes, the Horseshoe and Martin Lakes, which of course will offer plenty of opportunities for boating, fishing, jet skiing, and general water-based recreation. But also, as you can see from this map we boosted from the park's website, this area offers plenty of space for RV and tent camping, hunting, bird watching, hiking trails, and, get this people, shower and laundry facilities. They thought of everything. Whatever the case, people, this region, as you can see from the photos we had taken during multiple seasons of the year, is a really pretty area, really relaxing, has some great views of the surrounding mountains, and should provide countless hours, too many hours to count, of recreation and fun. So with all that said, people, the subject property is located up here in the Turkey Ridge Ranch, a subdivision which occupies roughly this amount of space you see circled here on the map. And it actually kind of straddles the county lines, with most of the ranch being in Huerfano County and some located in southern Pueblo County. Whatever the case, this whole region, and hence the subject property, is located just north of US Highway 10, roughly about a 10-mile drive. You'll want to begin from the turnoff down here from Highway 10 to County Road 120. From there, it's a pretty easy drive north. Now, the subject property is this 40-acre parcel you see pictured here, located along this road right here. Now, as you'll notice, Google Maps does not specifically name this road. I have seen some mapping software call it Turkey Ridge Ranch Road South. But if we go to the plat map, you'll see that this road, at the time the subdivision was created, was named Nyber Lane. Call it whatever you like. The point is it's identified in various ways when it is identified at all, but ultimately it is located parallel to and is exactly one road east of County Road 122. So keep that in mind in case you go out to scout the land. Whatever the case, this road, as you can see here in the photos, is a well-maintained dirt gravel road running the length of the parcel's western boundary, and it can be easily navigated by any vehicle type. In addition, you will also notice that located along this road are the power lines you see pictured here, as well as these underground utilities, which are really throughout the subdivision, servicing a lot of the developed home sites, and which can likely be brought to the subject property quite easily, should you decide to develop it. A couple more things to point out here. First, as you can see, this property has a lot of flat land, not a lot of diversity topography, not a lot of vegetation per se, but easy to park on, easy to build on. Additionally, speaking of building, property boundary markers are already in place, marking the corners of the land. Of course, like a lot of rural Colorado subs, there's a sort of anything goes mentality when it comes to boundary stakes, Sometimes it's a coffee can, sometimes it's a tire. And while at first glance you may mistake the markers for trash or debris, the white PVC piping is usually the tip-off. Whatever the case, you will find these at all four corners of the 40 acres. Next, let's talk about this fencing that you see pictured here. So if we go to the drone shots, you will see that this fencing cuts through the subject property and kind of divides the easternmost 10% from the rest of the parcel. Why is that, and what's the deal with the fence? Well, apparently the fence was put in about 100 years ago during the 1920s and predates the subdivision. It was installed by the BLM and runs not only through this parcel, but all the other private land which, like this one, backs up to the government land. Of course, you can use this land on the eastern side of the fence, but when it comes to perhaps removing the fence, anyone who purchases this would be well advised to talk to the county and likely also the BLM before doing so. And no, you should not be surprised if you're forbidden from removing the fence installed by the government, even if it runs across your land. So, just something to be aware of. Now, finally, before we wrap up here, there's one big thing I want to talk about which ties into this whole fence issue, which is, as mentioned earlier, the roughly 6,000 acres of BLM land that this property backs up to. Hence, the presence of the fence. So, the BLM land we're speaking of covers this region right here, known as the Cucharas Canyon, at the base of which you will find, you guessed it, the Cucharas River. Point being, owning land that sits adjacent to this will give you literally thousands and thousands of acres you can hike, camp, explore, from the canyons to the river, and all points in between. More to the point, however, it also means that this is land that cannot be developed, which means if you take the time and expense to build your dream home on these 40 acres, no one is going to come along and erect a Walmart or some commercial eyesore in your backyard. In short, the views you purchase today will remain untouched for decades to come, benefiting not only you, but future generations of your family who come after you. Okay, so this is normally the part where I lose some people, but the Turkey Ridge Ranch is governed by the Turkey Ridge Ranch Property Owners Association, which, yes, people, means there will be some things like covenants and restrictions to follow and annual dues to pay. That said, these organizations do actually provide a benefit to property owners simply because they help maintain property values in the region by enforcing these rules, and the money they collect usually goes to bettering the community. And I would think if someone were going to spend the kind of money that we're asking for this property, you would want an organization like this, making sure the neighbors don't leave half-built eyesores on their land or turn their property into a junkyard. And additionally, for all of you who are turned off by the idea of an association, I will tell you that here at Hemingway Land, we do not sell properties in subdivisions where the associations are too strict. We look for ones that behave reasonably, because we know otherwise you're not going to buy them. In summation, this one's a good one, and will be a far greater help to you as a landowner here than they will be a hindrance. So with that said, let's get into some of the handful of things you should know about the Turkey Ridge Ranch Property Owners Association. First off, they have a website. And if you come down here and click this link, it will take you to that site, which will be an excellent resource for anyone looking to learn more about the region or the POA. Anyone with questions about developing land and what's acceptable and what isn't, this is the organization you want to reach out to. And fortunately, they have their contact information here, both phone number and email, available for your convenience. Additionally, if you peruse the website, you'll learn more about the POA, the services they provide, their bylaws, minutes of meetings, so on and so forth. Next, of course, when you have an organization like this, they will have covenants and restrictions. That said, these are what we like to term, quote, common sense, good neighbor restrictions, meaning nothing any reasonable person should object to. Restrictions dealing with the disposal of trash and prohibitions on excessive noise. Whatever the case, if you click this PDF right here, you will be shown the one whole page and a half of things you'll need to know should you elect to purchase this property. Now, just to quickly run through some of the major points. First, properties out here can be used for residential, agricultural, or recreational purposes. Second, mobile and modular homes are acceptable here, but they stipulate a minimum square footage requirement of 1,200 square feet for single-family residences and 1,000 square feet for manufactured homes. So while you probably can't do a tiny home out here, as long as something is built up to code and you have the proper permits, it's unlikely anyone will say anything. Third, When it comes to developing the land, you have 18 months from the time of groundbreaking to complete construction. So to be clear, people, buy the land, do nothing with it for 100 years, that's fine. The day you put a shovel in the ground, however, that's the day the clock starts on your 18 months. Fourth, camping and RVing can be done recreationally, though no time limits are actually stipulated on that beyond 6 months during construction of a permanent home site. So that is perhaps something you'll want to see clarification on from the POA if you are looking to use the land more for those purposes prior to actual development. And finally, number 5, annual dues are $200 a year, which, among other things, help with the upkeep of the roads you see all throughout the thousands of acres that comprise this subdivision. Finally, people do want to point out that, as is typically the case, we have a little paragraph here about zoning. That said, in an area like this, the POA tends to either supersede local zoning law or conform to it and reinforce it. So if you are looking to develop the land and you have some questions, the county is likely either to tell you whatever the POA says, or the POA will be a little stricter. That said, I don't think a POA will ever allow you to do anything the county wouldn't. So this is all my way of saying that if you do have questions about it, the POA will almost always be the better source of information, or at the very least, the best first point of contact. So if you would like to purchase this property, you'll be glad to know that we close on through Daughter Abstract, which not only means that we receive title insurance, but also that we will be conveying it to you with clear and marketable title. So just come up here to the top of the page, click the Buy Now button, which will take you to this secure checkout, where we ask for a non-refundable, people, let me say it again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is not a property that has any financing offered. This is not a property where we're doing monthly payments. This is a property where we expect you to have the entire cash price. So if you do not have the entire cash price, you should not initiate this transaction. For those of you who do, however, here's the way it works. Come down here, give us the name for the deed, name for the contract, your mailing address. Then at the bottom of the page, agree to the terms of service, click Next, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to place the $500 deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is an expensive property. Really, anything north of $10,000, we encourage our buyers to close through a title company on. Of course, you don't have to do that. Nobody's got a gun to your head. It's up to you. But when you're spending this kind of money, we recommend getting title insurance. And of course, one of the major benefits here for you, the buyer, is that with a title company, you've got a third-party intermediary who is not only handling the conveyance of the property, but also the disbursement of funds, meaning we cannot touch your money until such a time as the property has been deeded into your name. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how that whole process works, you'll be glad to know that on the listing page, we've got this helpful Notes About Purchasing, which goes into a little more detail here. But more helpfully, it links you to some pages on the website which will go into even greater detail about this process. The first page is called How It Works Buying From Us. And if you go here, you can see exactly how this process plays out. Step 1, you place that deposit. Step 2, we're going to draft a contract. You sign it, we sign it. And step 3, the title company will do the rest, albeit slowly and over the period of about a month. And in case you're at all skeptical about placing money before seeing the contract you'll be asked to sign, you'll be glad to know we have a copy of our standard sale purchase agreement right here. You can click that and read through a generic version of what that contract looks like. It's a pretty easy contract, one page for signatures. If you got a lawyer in the family, have them give it a look-see, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, guys, if you haven't been through the title escrow process before, you're probably going to have a lot of questions about it. You'll be glad to know we have a page on our website entitled Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions page. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page where pretty much every conceivable question we have ever gotten from a buyer or will ever get from a buyer is answered here. Questions about benefits, questions about potential drawbacks, timeline, schedule, logistics, so on and so forth. So we encourage you, give that a read. So in conclusion, people, a lot to like about this property, from the presence of the utilities, which should make it easier to develop, to the really beautiful southern Colorado backdrop, to the proximity of the nearby lakes, and of course, all of this untouched government land backing up to here along the Cucharas Canyons and the Cucharas River. Additionally, people, you've got an organization actively looking out for your property values and hence your investment, meaning that the land you buy will only increase in value over time. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you in the next video.